Have you ever seen a dinosaur do a kickflip? Hey there, I'm Cyber Chroma, and today I'm showing off another game that I've been working on. For a school project, I had to take a kids game, particularly a game about teaching kids how to do division through disguised as like a race. Your dinosaurs going through a race, because of course that makes sense, and trying to recreate the game to be more user-friendly and all that. Now this one is interesting because unlike some things I've shown in the past, like previous video of Ultra Tag, this one's a lot more polished. It has like music, pause screen, and feels more like a finished game. So I think it turned out quite well, and I have a lot to show off with it. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so this is this Dino Skateboarding game that I've remade. The original game has a not very appealing name. It's Dino Skateboarding Division Facts. Sure, that works. It is a name. Yeah, so I want to actually start this off by showing what the original game looks like, because as I said, this is a recreation. So and it also gives you an idea as to what I was going for and certain things that I just stole directly from this game in the recreation. So this is this website, education.com, that has all these random kids games. I'm gonna show off this one now.
Let's have a race. First, choose your character.
Yeah, so you got a guy talking, a narrator, and then you have this thing where you pick your character.
Burly.
Ooh, and they all have names. Sure. Go with this guy. Starts a race. Yep. And then...
On your mark, get set, go!
Yeah.
Click on the number to complete this equation.
Yep, so it's division. It's teaching division. Like, oh, what number? Is it this one? Oh, no.
Click on the number.
What about this one? Yeah. And this is basically what the game is.
Click on the
number.
number
You go through your
to
racing
complete.
people, and you gotta just click the numbers to complete the equations.
Click on the number
So it's
to complete
teaching kids division. And like,
Click on
yeah,
the
there's
number
Also, animations wouldn't get things wrong.
Click on the number.
Teaching kids division, doing a race, making it fun, having some
Click on the
stuff,
number
sure.
to complete
Eventually,
this
the race
equation.
ends, and then you're like on pedestals and says whether you came first, second, or third. And yeah, that's basically what the game is. So enough of that.
Go faster to...
That. And now let me show you my recreation. Prepare for my amazing voice acting.
Let's have a race. Choose your character. Ripper.
Yeah. So
Slash.
I did my own voice
Skitch.
acting for this,
Burly.
and I think it turned out quite well. There's also music, which I'm hoping isn't overpowering my
Skitch
voice too much.
slash.
But
Ripper.
yeah, and we're gonna go with Ripper because he's the only one in this that I actually created.
Get ready to do some division.
We got different
Try
colored
to beat
versions of the
other
characters, but I only made
racers.
the one model.
Ready,
But I think it
set,
turned out quite well.
Go.
Go.
Click on the number to complete this equation.
Yeah. So already between this and this, you can see
Click
that there's a
on the
lot
number to
different
complete this
going on here.
equation.
Also, if I move myself to the other side, you see that there's like a first, second, third thing on that side.
Click on the
So
number
yeah, we
to
got the
complete
numbers.
this
They
equation.
actually look more like buttons if you get them
Oops.
wrong. This is my
Try
favorite
again.
thing of the whole game.
Oops.
It's just this
Try again.
face planting animation that I made.
Oops. Try again.
But there's a lot more like visual feedback for getting things right and wrong. There's like subtitles that match what
Correct.
the announcer guy is saying. And
Click
yeah,
on the number to
pretty
complete
cool.
this equation. Correct.
Yeah, man, I'm the division master after playing this
Click on
game
the
so many
number to
times. I've
complete
just been
this
testing
equation.
things.
Correct.
Yeah, and just
Click on the number.
even like
to complete
recreated a
this
lot of like
equation.
environmental assets and all that.
Correct.
You may also notice that my version of this is 3D
Click on the
while the
number
original
to
is
complete
2D,
this
and that's just because
equation.
I am a way
Correct.
better 3D artist than
Click
like,
on
being
the
good at
number to
drawing,
complete this.
Correct. Photoshop and all that. I did make some of these sprites in Photoshop
Click on
and
the
all
number to
that.
complete
So
this equation.
that's a thing.
Correct.
And I'm not going to win the race here, but I can show what happens when we
Click
get to
on
the
the
end when
number
we're in
to
second.
complete
There's also a
this
thing
equation.
you can see over here. It shows how far
Correct.
along you are in the race and how close you are to the end.
Click on the number to complete
yeah, which
this
we are
equation.
almost
Oops.
there. Oh,
Try
no.
again. Correct.
Guys, I can do math.
Click on the number
Almost
to
there.
complete this.
Un
Correct.
momento. I also got some environmental stuff just for visual interest. And we get to the end.
You came in second. Next
Oh, no.
time, you'll have it for sure.
We almost had it. Also, yeah, the characters do have eyelids. You may have noticed that there's like some randomized blinking going on. And this pedestal thing kind of resembles the original. I'm not going to go through getting to the end of it in the original, but yeah, so this is how this is. And then you can retry
Let's have a race.
and pick your character
Choose
again.
your character.
It just resets. If I pick a
Get
different
ready to
character,
do some
it's just a color
revision.
change, but
Try
I
to
loosely
beat the
matched
other
the colors of the
racers.
original thing. As well, we got a pause screen where you can adjust the volume, and this actually saves if you close and reopen the game. Resume or try a menu and quit. Now, the reason that there's a menu is to elaborate more. This is part of a group project thing where we recreated a few different games, but the one that I'm focusing on is the one that the most involvement in which was the Dino game. I'm not really
Let's
touching
have
the other
a
ones.
race.
There was the
Choose
circus
your
one that I also
character.
did a decent amount with,
Slash.
but yeah, this will be the Dino one because the Dino one's also my favorite, mainly because of the dinosaur and the animations I made with it. It turned out really
Get ready
well.
to do some division.
Yeah, so that is the game, how it is, and now I can show off some of how different things are done. So first of all, the actual Blender, or the actual scene view here that was made in Blender, it's all very flat. I copied a sort of formula with doing camera stuff with this sort of faking 2D with 3D, where the characters aren't facing straight out. They're actually on an angle and actually kind of flattened because it just looked better. And the camera's viewing them from top down with it being an isometric camera. And it creates this view that looks like this, where, yeah, it looks like they're on the ground well enough. But if it was directly if they were straight up, then you'd just be seeing the helmets. Here, you still get to see their faces and all that sort of stuff. Also, this pose here is kind of their T-pose. I don't know why it was because it was a T-Rex. I made the T-pose kind of like the arms out rather than being out. It may have been better to have the arms out kind of T-pose, but oh well, this is just what I did. Yeah, as you can see, we just have the one model that I just duplicated for the others. We have our player Dino here, the player Dino move, and a thing for the progression meter at the side. It shows how far along they are in the race. And then we got these two other dinos. Now, actually, all of the characters, so the player and then the left AI and the right AI, they have models for all four of the characters that were Ripper, the purple one, Slash, the cyan one, Skitch, the green one, and Burly, the orange one that's not here. They all have those models, and then I just turn them on and off, depending on which one needs to get used. It worked, it did the job, and yeah, it's the first time that I've ever, usually when you get a reference to an animator, you do that on start. It's the first time I, had to get a reference to an animator not on start, because it's when you pick the character, then it finds the right animator to get to do animation stuff. Speaking of animations, nice segue, here is the model for the actual Dino himself, which has his own, custom rig thing that I made. In the past, I've tried using, different tools for doing rigging stuff in Blender manually, a popular one being Rigify. But for this, mainly because it's a dinosaur and he has this kind of backward knee, but also not a backward knee thing going on. Just weird things going on, also a tail, that I decided to try doing manual making a rig. And yeah, it turned out quite well. Now for this, I didn't bother doing IK, which is inverse kinematics, which is how you can get feet to stick to surfaces easier and stuff like that. Pose libraries, and there's all these different tools to help make animation easier. I didn't do any of that for this project. This was a matter of trying to get what I wanted to happen as quickly and as simply as I could. There's a lot of cutting corners just for this project because it was a smaller scale thing. In the future, if I was doing a more bigger thing, like I hopefully will be with my upcoming game, The Handyman with Unicycle, I would go the full mile with proper just things that will make my life easier in the animation department, because I'm also not really an animator. Try to get better at such things, but yeah, this is my best shot at this. So I can go through here and you can see some of the animations that were made for this. It's got his idle animation, a kickflip, when he's just standing there looking back and forth at the different choices, and then his falling on his face in a second, which, yeah, there's that. Does he not have, oh no, yeah, those are the only animations that I made for him, yeah. Now you notice there's this long pause here. There's just every animation that he has is spaced apart enough. And yeah, it turned out quite well. So we got the main Dino himself, which you can also see that his topology is absolutely terrible, because I did this through sculpting tools and whatnot, as opposed to, there was no dynamic or I used dynamic retopology, but there was no doing retopology stuff. Usually when you're making a model like this, you go back over it and make the topology all nice. I didn't do that for this. As I said, I was trying to just get it to work as quickly, as easily as possible. And yeah, it did work. And also, again, this was a smaller scale project, so it didn't need to be all super optimized or whatever. I just, again, needed to do the bare minimum to get it to work. I also did a bit of texture painting on his stomach there, which also turned out well. He's got his eyes, and the pupils here actually can move separately. I never really ended up doing anything with that animation-wise. Even actually the, I was going to say the pivot point's not where it should be. I think it is when he's in T-pose position. And he's got a helmet that I think does a tiny bit of movement when he like falls. Yeah, just a little bit. And they got a skateboard with different colors and all that. And then I kind of put more detail into this skateboard than I really needed to. Like, I don't think you can really see these in Blender, but they're there. Yeah, anyways, I quite like how this turned out. The skateboard actually has nice topology, kind of. Yeah, I quite like how this turned out, and yeah, it was fun to make, because when I started doing game development 8 years ago, I never would have imagined making something like this. A dinosaur doing a kickflip. But here we are, and I don't regret a thing. So yeah, that is that. We also got some actual tech stuff going on, which is cool. It was nice to be able to actually polish this game, to some degree anyway. There's like, more things that could be done if I wanted to make things better, but like it has a pause screen, which looks decent. It has, music, and like the text isn't like default Unity text. I actually, for the first time with this project, I used Text Mesh Pro, which is a thing. No, sorry, those have been the second time. I did some stuff with it in a Handyman with a unicycle, and then did that stuff here as well. I was working on both of them kind of at the same time, but regardless. Yeah, so I actually did some stuff to make some fancier text, and it turned out quite good. And then you got the buttons, which these, instead of having default Unity buttons, I actually made some Photoshop things where got this little square with an outline, got, I think, a few, it's like the same thing, just of different sizes, because rather than stretching them, it's just easier to make different sized ones. I think there's like a 9 slice thing you could do that would have basically done the same thing, but whatever, I didn't end up doing that, which is fine. Yeah, it is cool how do I say this? By just like replacing some things that would be default Unity things, how quickly it can, well, make your game look better and look less like a sort of default Unity game, I guess, if that's how I want to word this. Like, as I just said, not having the default Arial text that Unity has, and which like isn't a problem, of course, when you're developing the game, or like making a prototype or whatever, but when you want to add that sort of graphical fidelity, yeah, there's a bunch of little things that you can do that really add a lot of polish to your games. Also did a tiny bit of post-processing, I believe. Yeah, I think this is what it looks like without, this is what it looks like with. I think all I really did was bump up the saturation and the contrast just a bit. Yeah, and it worked, and yeah, it worked nicely. So now, I guess I could show off, is there anything interesting with the code that I want to show off? I have some things open from the other game. What I will say is that one of the other games, the Clown Angles one, and you know what? I'll show that off real briefly here. Not going to talk about it too much, but just, it is the most like thrown together code that I've ever written in my entire life. I made this in a very short period of time. It's like, the game jam kind of thing of, you just gotta make it work and as fast as you can. And yeah, this, oh, you can't see behind my head. There's a thing that basically shows what angle you gotta hit, and you just gotta shoot towards the angles. That was not 50 degrees. And it does snap to where it's gotta be, and yeah, ta-da. Like, as an example of how thrown together this is, the reference to, so how this, the target, there's like a red version and a green version. The drag and dropped prefab reference for the green one is on the clown. And it's like when the clown hits the target, it then is like, hey, this thing that we just interacted with, replace its, not its prefab, its sprite for like the green target. And yeah, it worked. But anyways, back to the Dino one over yonder. Dino Skateboarding Division. Oh yeah, I also said as you heard, I did voice acting stuff for this. That was fun to do, as being this narrator, which I've done a few times now with some game dev things that I've done. I soon want to try doing some voice acting in one of my games where I'm not a narrator, because like everything I've done has just been like the narrator guy giving instructions for the sake of having that be more interesting than just a wall of text at the beginning of the game. But yeah, at some point, probably soon, maybe with the Hangman with the Unicycle, I'd like to try doing some actual, I say voice acting. I'm not a great voice actor or anything, but just attempting stuff that's like actual characters talking, and I don't know, seeing what I can do with that. Again, a lot of just learning and all that. Anyways, though, yeah, as I said, I don't know how much programming stuff I want to go over. I've explained a lot of the overview of a lot of things. For like the player moving, for example, it's just you go down. There is actually like a state manager kind of thing going on where, depending on what state we're in, it's either you're stopped, you're going forward, or you're like in the middle of doing a kickflip. For getting an answer right, you like a little bit of kind of an animation of moving left as it does the kickflip and then moving back to the center. Yeah, it's a thing that goes on. For the environmental stuff, as I guess I'm just jumping around between different points that may or may not be of interest. When I go into play mode, in a minute.
Let's have a race.
Let me actually mute the audio and make it so I can be in the scene view. Ta-da, here's all these models that spawned. And we got 4 variations that were just me trying to copy the same, like 4 environmental models that are used here. We got a pylon, we got this little divider thing that also, when I spotted it, because the 3D model, I can turn it in any rotation and have that work. A little fire hydrant here, because why not? And then there's like a manhole cover. Just, yeah, it was another thing that I came up with, and it works. How they get spawned is actually just, the code sort of starts here, it goes down some random amount I think between like 30 and like 50 or something like that, spawns a thing and then keeps going down. Or I don't know what the amount is, but something like that. But it just keeps going down. And then ever so slightly to the left or right, and it goes down and just keeps spawning one of the 4 prefabs. And then it does the same going down the right side. And then bam, we got just some stuff in our levels. It was, yeah, quick and dirty enough just to work as well as it needed to. There's a bunch of trigger colliders on where all the questions start that are somewhere around here. I think that would be, well, yeah, there we are. These triggers are when the player interacts with them, then they are told to stop. Actually, they stop after like a second to answer the question. The AIs don't actually use any of this. The AIs don't do anything with actually solving math problems. All they do, and let me move myself back to that side of the screen while I remember to do so. All the AIs do is they just move forward, and then every like random amount of time, they just fall over. They trigger the face planting animation, and they stop for a second while they do so, and then they just keep going down the track. The right one is a bit faster than the other, just so that they get more spaced apart. But yeah, that is how that works. Another interesting thing might be how I generate the questions. Now, I don't actually know the process behind how the original game gets its questions. It feels like it might be from some kind of test bank, because this doesn't have like, it has a decently wide variety of questions, but not like, from what I've seen, there's like a lot of repeat questions. It might be targeting more common, like easier division problems, maybe. In my case, all I did is, all the division problems are like basically 2 numbers between 0 and 10, multiply 2 of them together, and then that's like the big number. So let me get a different number, a different question that's not having zeros in it as an example. Basically, whatever the correct answer is, it generates 2 numbers between 0 and 10. Here's one of them, here's the other, multiply them together to get this number. So this number's highest value would be 100, if this was 10 and this was 10. The one exception to this is this number can't be 0, so that we're not dividing by 0. And then it also generates just 2 other random numbers between 0 and 10 that, like, none of these can be the same. And then voila, we got a question to be answered. And yeah, that system worked quite nicely. They all get generated right when we start the game, so it's random every time. And yeah, it just works. Anyways, so yeah, I think that's that. I think that basically comes to the end of what I wanted to show off this game. Mainly, like, it's cool to have something here that I actually kind of finished and, you know, is actually in what I could call a complete state. And I, you know, did a lot of cool things while doing this and just making the dino. The main reason I wanted to do this video in particular was just showing off the dino, just because I think it was funny. And like the face planting animation. Yeah, just thought it was fun to make. So yeah, I think that wraps it up for Dino Skateboarding Division Facts. And so that was a game about dinosaurs in the last place that you'd expect to see them. It was an interesting project. I'm having to take a game, remake it, and make it more user-friendly and accessible and all that. Whether that's making a button more looking like a button, or changing text colors to signify certain things, like having a question be right or wrong. Yeah, it's interesting, just the little things you can do here and there to make games more easily playable, and it's stuff that I've learned that I hope to apply to my future games. And it's also just cool having a game that was more completed. Now, being a smaller game, it was easier to make that happen, but it's nice seeing something like actually be able to put the polish into it, and music and all that stuff that makes it feel like more of a complete game. And I can hope that that will soon happen to more of the games that I continue to develop. But anyways, I think that'll do it for this video. So if you liked it, look forward to more. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you around.